Good morning, YouTube homesteaders. Tom Fitzgerald with Good Hope Homestead. Man, it is cold out here this morning. I woke up this morning, it was 27 degrees out here. It is just it's just cold. It's crazy. Just the other day on our last video we shot, it was almost 70 out here. And then today we wake up and it's 27 degrees. Everything was covered in frost. Headed out here to the chicken coop. We're gonna go ahead and let the chickens out and get them fed. And ooh, that sun's bright. And hopefully we'll get on to our next project. Good morning, Henry. That's our main rooster. These are all silkies. That's our main rooster right there. His name's Henry. And we got our little juvenile rooster right there. That's my grandson's rooster. They named him Omelet. That's our little flock of silkies that we have. I've got 8 hens and the 2 roosters. Up here comes another one now. Alright, I'm going to go into the coop and get them all fed. It got cold in here last night, so I did end up going and turning a heat lamp on for them, just so it'll stay a little warm in here. These nested boxes are looking filthy. We're gonna have to come in here and get these cleaned out. I've got one of them laid an egg this morning. I've got one that's a morning layer. She loves laying first thing in the morning, and the rest of them are more of a late afternoon layers. Let's see how they did on their feed yesterday. Oh, yep, it's empty. They go ahead and get their feed container filled up. Good morning there. Good morning there, ladies. Henry, Omelet. They're coming running for their food. Be going into the greenhouse today. I think we're going to work on getting a seed flat started. We're going to work on getting some starter trays going today. Oh yeah, much warmer in here. See what the thermostat says. I don't know if y'all can see that too well, but it's showing it is 48.9 degrees in the greenhouse. Whew. Still a little cool. I'm going to go ahead and kick the heater on in here and see if we can bump the temperature up a little bit. We're going to work on getting some seed starts going for our garden this year. I'm going to go over on what we use and why and how we do things, and we're going to go over the products first that I use. And by no means you have to use any of these. These are just what we use here. But I'll go over also a few other things that you can do Really doesn't cost you that much money if you're on a budget. Trust me, I know all about being on a budget, because a lot of these I've done also myself in the past. But the first product that we use are these. This is a Jiffy seed starting tray. There's 72 cells in this tray altogether, and you can pick these up at almost any of your big box stores. The company that makes this is Jiffy. I know here locally in Virginia, Walmart carries these. Home Depot sells them. Also Lowe's carries them too. And they run about $5 for one of these trays. And they come with a dome that you can set on top after you get them all planted. You set your dome on top, and it gives it kind of like that greenhouse effect. So these things are actually come in really handy, and you can reuse these as long as you take care of them good. You can reuse these for at least a season or two. I know we've got some that we bought last season that we're reusing again this season. But you don't have to use these if you're on a budget. You know, there's other things you can use, and I bet you I've got one that you probably have in your refrigerator right now. Another thing you could use, an egg carton. You could take one of these egg cartons, just cut the top off of it. This just happens to be one of the 18 count egg cartons. But you could do the exact same thing using the egg carton. But for today, we're going to go ahead and use the starter cell. This is actually the last one I have left. I think we've already got all the other ones used up and started. So we're going to go ahead and use this one for today. The next thing is you're going to need a good seed starting mix. Now the seed starting mix I use also, it's Jiffy. You can get this same thing at your matter of fact, they're in the same area that these the starter trays are sold at in your big box stores. This I got from, I think, Walmart, and it was $5 for the bag. You could get, I can get 3 of these 72 cell trays done with a 12 quart bag of the starting mix. But you don't have to use the Jiffy. It's convenient. I was there at the time, and I've had good luck with it. I've used it before. But you always want to make sure you've got a good seed starting mix. You don't want to get just a regular topsoil. You know, you can go to Home Depot and Walmart and they have the 99-cent bags of topsoil. And that stuff, it just doesn't have the nutrients, and it doesn't have the perlite mixed in to help retain the moisture. It compacts, and it makes it hard for that seed to germinate, to get good roots going, and to pop up out of the soil. This mix is really light. It's really fluffy. Even if you water it, it doesn't really even pack down tight. So I recommend it. It's a good product, and I've had great luck with this. Another thing that we use are these. These are little push-in tags, and you can buy these also at your big box store sells them. I think I got these at the same time at Walmart. These come in a pack of 30, and they run $2 for a pack, and they work really well. And these are also reusable if you plan on growing the same thing the next season. So a lot of stuff that we like, we'll end up keeping these, knowing that we're going to grow it again in the next season. So when we're done, we'll hang on to them. We'll put them in a Ziploc bag with the appropriate seed packet, so we have them all together for next season. Now, there's an alternative to those if you want to save a little bit of money, is popsicle sticks. Now we use these too. I've used, as you can see, I've used these before. At least this one right here. Now these work fine. The bad thing about these is the writing has a tendency to bleed on them, especially as you use them and you water your plants and they get wet, and they don't hold up real well, you know, as far as being able to reuse them again. Sometimes you get lucky. This one isn't too bad, and you know, we could reuse that. But these are cheap. You can pick these up at the dollar store. These come in a pack of 100 at Dollar Tree for $1. So that's a good cheap alternative right there. If you wanted to get a little bit more bang for your buck, obviously you get a larger quantity for half the price. And next is these. Now, you don't have to have these, but I make these just because it makes it easier for me when I'm planting and get these seeds started. This is actually what I use just to poke the hole in the soil to get the seeds in the soil to get them started. This one I have marked at a 1/2 inch. So when I plant, I'll know how deep I need to go. And this one I have marked at, and get the focus there. This one I have marked at a 1/4 of an inch. Now, most of the seeds that I've found, they need to be planted anywhere between a 1/4 and a 1/2 is the most common. It tells you on the back of your seed packs. It'll tell you. See if I can get the focus in here. Yep, planting depth 1/4 inch. So these I will use our 1/4 inch plug tool to make our little hole in the soil to make sure our depth is where it needs to be at. And these I just had some scrap pieces of wood I made from some stakes where I had some other plants staked up with. They were the ends I ended up cutting off, and I actually ended up with a ton of these. And I was like, hey, that'll make a great idea. But you don't even have to use that. What I've used in the past is a Sharpie. Now, you're going to have these anyway, because you're going to want to write down on your plant tags, obviously what your plant is that you're planting. And what I've done in the past is I've measured up on the bottom of the Sharpie, and I actually just drew a line on it, measured up a 1/4 and a 1/2 inch, and used the back end of this to push down into the soil to make our mark in the soil. So, and that's something you're going to have anyway, and it's multi-purpose. And then next, obviously, you're going to need your seed packs. These are the beefsteak tomatoes, and we grow these every year. I love the beefsteak tomatoes. They're actually one of my favorite varieties. They're great for slicing. But the seeds, you can get these almost any place. You can get these at Walmart, Home Depot. You can order them online. There's a company, Baker Creek, has got a great seed catalog, and I've got a few seeds this year that we ordered through Baker Creek that we're going to be growing. This one was leftover from last year. I think this was I may have picked up from Home Depot or something, but they did really, really well last year. And so you can just pick up your seeds. It doesn't matter where you get them at. Obviously, I mean, they're going to grow, but you can try your big box stores. You can go online and check out Baker Creek or some other seed companies and go through their catalogs and find something that you're interested in growing and order and pick those up. And last but not least, you're going to need water. Every time after you get your seeds started, you're going to want to wet them so that seed can get that moisture and they can jump up and germinate for you. So I use a spray bottle only because the spray bottle, when you spray it to go to water, it just mists and it dampens the soil. It's not a real hard water like you're taking a cup or even a watering can and watering from overhead. The water flows so much it pushes the dirt around and you stand a chance of displacing the seed. Where the spray bottle is a nice light mist, gets the soil nice and damp, and it doesn't really move the dirt around to move your seed around on you. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take our seed starting mix, and we're going to go ahead and just dump it. I'm having a hard time doing this one-handed. I may just grab it by the handful. You're going to get it onto your tray and just kind of spread it around. You don't want to pack this in. You want to make sure that all the cells are filled, but you don't want it packed in real tight. You just want to just cover and fill all the cells up. This soil is just really fluffy soil. It's nice, it's light. As you water, it'll compact some, but the soil doesn't really compress. It'll always kind of have that light, fluffy feel to it. And I'm making a bit of a mess, but you can always just take this and scrape it up off the table, put it back in the bag with whatever spills off the sides. Alright, we got that all filled up. We're going to go from here to go ahead and start getting our little plugs put in the soil. We're going to make small holes in each cell to go ahead and drop the seeds. So we're going to go ahead now and start setting our holes in the cells. It doesn't have to be exact, like these were 1/4 inch. They don't have to be exactly 1/4 inch, but you do want to get them as close to that 1/4 inch as possible. You definitely don't want them too deep. If you have them too deep, it's going to make it really hard for that tender little plant to push its way up through the soil, which is the other reason why I said you don't want to compact your soil in these cells too tight. The seeds have to exert a lot of their energy to germinate and to grow. So you want to kind of make it a little bit easy on them, and that way they don't have to exert as much strength in trying to push through the soil, and they can use that energy to grow healthy and strong. Now we got them all made, we're going to go through and plant our seeds. Now there's a lot of different ways that you hear on doing this. A lot of people tell you to put 2 or 3 seeds in each hole. I only do 1. Well, one, I'm growing this whole flat of seeds, which is way more than what I'm going to need. But just in case you don't get the 100% germination, which you won't, you'll get close, but you won't always get 100% germination rate. And in case something happens and a few don't make it, I'll have plenty of extras. Now the reason I don't plant so many seeds into one hole is if you get the double germination, let's say you put 2 seeds in there and both of those seeds germinate, well, you're going to get 2 plants coming out of that hole. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to thin one of those out. Usually what you do is you thin your weakest, your smallest one out, and it allows the bigger one to grow and become more healthy. So for me, it's kind of a waste to plant 2 in one hole and have them both come up, knowing I'm going to have to cull one of them. Sometimes you can separate them, and you can actually just plant that into another empty cell or into a small pot if you have one, and grow it. But a lot of times what happens is the roots entangle in with themselves, and it's really hard to separate them without damaging the root system. And you don't want to damage the roots on both plants, and then you're out 2 plants versus 1. So for me, I find it easier just to plant 1 in each cell, and if one doesn't make it or germinate and come up, then I've got plenty of them going. This way I stand a better chance of having more plants versus trying to separate them. This way, if they all come up, then I don't have to worry about separating them, and it just gives me more plants to sell. Now if you're only growing a few for, say, like a little pot garden that you've got, and you're only planning on doing maybe 2 or 3 tomato plants, then I would definitely plant, at least 5. That way you know that you're going to end up with what you want, because you will lose some for one reason or another. So it's always best to be safe and plant over what you know you're going to use. And plus, they make good gifts. If you know somebody that's into gardening or even just loves whatever you're growing, let's say tomatoes, if you have an extra tomato plant or 2, hey, give it to somebody that can use it, and maybe you'll spark an interest in someone else into doing gardening and planting. All right, now we've got our whole tray planted here with our tomatoes in it. Now all you want to do is just lightly just go over and just cover the seeds up. You can push just a little bit of the soil around, cover up over top of them. Or if you did what I did, made a little bit of a mess when we're filling it up with dirt, you can always take a pinch of that soil and just lightly go over top of it, cover your seeds up. Like I said, you don't want to pack it down, you just want to smooth it out a little bit. Okay, now we got them all planted. Our next step is to go ahead and get them watered. We're going to put some water on top of them, get them nice and moist, and that way they can start the germination process and start growing for us. Now, when we water these, what I use, you can use a lot of different methods, but the best one that I found is using a simple spray bottle. It doesn't water the soil real hard. It just adds a nice light mist over top of it, so it doesn't really disrupt the soil and give you any seed displacement. It'll just soak it and let that seed get wet. So you just take your spray bottle, and just mist over top of it. And get them all nice and wet and moist. Alright, it also really helps you too, because a lot of people have a tendency starting seeds and it is worrying about the water and the moisture to them. And so a lot of times what happens is people have a tendency to overwater. Using one of these spray bottles makes it really easy just to get the right amount of moisture down to them without overwater. I mean, to water with one of these, to overwater, you really have to try hard to overwater with a spray bottle. It can be done, but you're less likely to do it using one of these. But now we got them all planted. We got them moist. Got some water down on them. Now there's two different things you can do at this point. Is this whole tray is all the same, so I know what this tray is. So I'm not going to actually go through and put a marker for each one of these cells. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create one and either set it inside on one of the cells or just tape it to the top, or maybe even mark it on the side so I know what this is. But if you're planting these and doing these cells in multiple just different varieties of tomatoes, or just doing multiple different types of plants in here, you're going to want to mark each cell. Alright, so that's about it. This is that's how we do them here, and we do these every year. We've had very good luck with it. Oh, there's one more thing I forgot to show you that comes with this. Let me grab it real quick. I think I left it on the shelf. Are the domes. These come with a dome top. These come with a dome top that you can set on top of these. The stake's going to keep it from going down all the way, but you can set these on top. Now, if you use this, you don't want to keep this on the whole time. You only want to keep this on till they start to germinate. Once they germinate and start popping up through the soil, you want to go ahead and take this off once they come up. You will no longer need that. Now, if you leave that on too long, what happens is it holds all that moisture and humidity inside the trays here, and what will happen is you'll start developing like a white powder, or like a fluffy white mold or fungus that grows, and you definitely don't want that because it's just not getting enough airflow and oxygen. So you only want to keep it covered just until you start seeing little sprouts pop up. When you start seeing that, take that cover off and just let them be able to breathe and air out and get some airflow through there. So, but other than that, that's about it. Now that we got these done, I'm going to go ahead and get our tag in. I'm going to get our top on, and we're going to take this inside and take it to the grow rack and put it up underneath the lights and wait for them to come up. Alright, we're back inside the house, and this is the shelf I have set up to put our seed starters on. And I've got 3 just regular 4-foot fluorescent tube lights on here. There's double bulbs, you can see up in there on each one of them. Now what you want to do is you just want to make sure when you put your trays in and you're just starting them that you keep your lights as as close down to the plant as you can get them. You know, I've got these stakes in there with the names on them, so it makes it a little bit difficult to get them, but so low. But you just try to keep them down as low as you can. And some of the stuff that's a little harder to germinate, like these right here, these are this flat's mainly all different types of peppers. Now the peppers, they have to have a soil temp of about 70 degrees before they'll even germinate. So these I have on a heat mat down there underneath, just to keep the soil temp up to get them to go ahead and germinate faster. All right, we're gonna go ahead and take our tray that we just started. This is one we just did in the greenhouse. All of our beef steaks are in here. We're going to go ahead and set this on this empty spot in the shelf right here. We'll get them down here, up underneath the lights. We got our tag on there so we know what they are. Now, I just made the one because that whole tray is all the same, so I just did the one tag, and I'll just leave it up on top for now. That way I know what's in here. And hopefully soon those will sprout out, and we'll take that dome off, and as they pop up, we'll go ahead and transplant them into bigger pots if we have to, or hopefully the weather will warm up and we'll go ahead and stick them straight to the ground. Alright guys, well that's all I've got for today. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button, leave a comment, and subscribe. Until the next video guys, God bless.